We come here to verse 20 of the 7th chapter of the Gospel of John. Jesus is responding to religious leaders who, of course, have a hostile attitude toward him. They've been puzzling, of course, how it is that Jesus can stand up and speak with such authority, and yet behind that quizzical concern of theirs is, of course, the deeper sense of envy, of jealousness, that Jesus is probably upstaging them to some degree. We're going to hear later in the trial and execution of Jesus that Pilate knew it was out of envy that these religious leaders had delivered him over in the first place, that Jesus comes on with this rather extravagant display of expertise that exceeds even these who are the noted experts on the matter. So their hostility is understandable, and Jesus, of course, puts the question to them, if they're such experts in keeping the law, which Moses gave them, then why are they themselves breaking the law, in a sense contemplating, plotting what amounts to a plan to get rid of Jesus? And that's what he asked them. How is it that you're planning to kill me? And the crowd, of course, is probably somewhat oblivious to some of these underlying concerns, and that seems to be driving the response we have here. Epikrithe. This is from apokrinomai, deponent verb. It means I answer. This is the third person singular, aorist active indicative, the singular subject of it, oklos, the crowd. So the crowd answered. And then daimonion, the word for demon, of course, this is the accusative of it. And then ekes, the singular, so it's the second person singular, present active indicative. You have a demon. Might seem a little harsh from the crowd, but it was the sort of idiom of the day of saying something more on the order of you're nuts, you're crazy, you've lost it here. So the crowd answers. They hear this more or less surprised at the reaction that Jesus has expressed to these religious leaders, not quite appreciating the malevolence that's in their hearts. And when they hear Jesus accuse them of plotting his own destruction, then that gives rise to this answer. You must be nuts, So the crowd answered, you have a demon. Tis is the interrogative pronoun. Interrogative, you can notice it has the acute accent. We normally expect a grave, but when it's the interrogative, then more or less to suggest the inflection of a question, you'll find the acute accent there customarily. So tis, who, and then se, once again up front, as we saw in the previous verse, putting emphasis on it. This is the third person pronoun, accusative. So who, you, zete, from zeteo, I seek. This is the third person singular, present active indicative of this contract verb. So who you seeks, apoktenai, the aorist infinitive here of the word apokteno, I kill. So who seeks you to kill? Who's trying to kill you? And of course, they don't know the answer. There is an actual correct answer to that these religious leaders are already plotting the destruction of Jesus, but the crowd is not quite aware of it yet. And this question seems to be reflecting that sort of mystified and confused element of them as they are responding to and observing this interaction between Jesus and the leaders.